What is up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I am DJ, aka Took a Black Guy. If the first time, hit the like button, subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. So doing the breakdown for episode 2 of Last of Us. Like I said in my review, I'm enjoying this show. Really enjoying it. It's very refreshing to see a good adaptation of a video game. But like I said, I played the first game. Never played the second game, but I have watched walkthroughs and everything. So I would call myself a casual fan of The Last of Us. So let's see what Easter eggs and breakdowns and details that we missed with the one and only Eric Voss from New Rockstar. Make sure you go to their channel and subscribe. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of HBO's The Last of Us Episode 2, Infected. The interesting visual details, connections to the game, and deeper layers of meaning. And you know what I did?
Will say a lot of shots were taken from the game.
Visible on the rooftop in the final shot, but you better believe Joel Ellie and tested and miss him and his friends this episode with their mistletoe moves. But hey,
yeah, that was disgusting.
Flower theory, right? My follow-up
1080p.
Short, and you know what? A few of you even called me a dummy for saying the infection was spread by flower-coated Hollywood handshakes. But it's all good. We're gonna break down everything you missed. And for more of my deeper analysis, please subscribe to New Rockstar's new channel, The Deep Dive, in which every week I'll investigate titles like Everything Everywhere All at Once with a more
watch that movie.
Focus. It's launching February 17th. Okay, episode 2 opens in Jakarta, Indonesia, which came up on a radio broadcast last episode.
I really like the opening.
It's September 24th, 2003, 2 days before Outbreak Day, and you can already hear sirens starting.
Oh, yeah.
In this restaurant, we see close-ups of flour-based food in people's dishes, but Ibu Ratna is eating only skewered meat and a salad. When these officers enter, all the patrons go silent. Now, in 2003, Indonesia was under a period of reform under President Megawati Sukarno Putri, but this was right after a tumultuous New Order period that lasted from 1966 to 98 under
that's 20 years ago now, man.
Dictator. These patrons would definitely be old enough to remember a time when badges showing up during lunch meant trouble. Just really like this detail. The officer Hidayat apologizes for interrupting the lunch, and Ibu says no need, she was just finishing. Cautiously abundant courtesy, because both of these people are scared out of their minds. They're wanting the other one to like them since they believe the other holds their life in their hands. Now, Ibu is a professor of mycology, the study of fungi. The front desk translates to Ministry of Health of Indonesia, and we pass signs for SARS, which earlier that year.
There's a real good documentary on Netflix about fungi. If you're into the show, I would highly recommend watching it, because fungus is more complex than you think.
Untuk meneliti spesimen yang telah kami persiapkan.
Ibu mungkin
pendapat berat yang saya butuhkan.
Yeah, it's clear that Ibu was brought in as a second opinion, and they are hoping for better news from her. In general, I love this intro because many associate infections from other countries with a kind of xenophobic hypochondria. Oh no, can I even drink the water in that country? But we see here that it wasn't immediate chaos in the streets of Jakarta. An academic expert in Ground Zero diagnosed it immediately and still could not stop it. Ibu examines his corpse and first notices a bullet wound in the head, not a good sign. She makes an incision on the leg, revealing a layer of cordyceps tissue directly beneath the skin, which is crazy. It's like the stuffing of a plush toy. This means it's not
all through your body
that's moving the limbs of the infected.
It's the fungi.
It's all fungus tendrils underneath there. And she checks the throat, and living cordyceps tendril reaches out for a hug. Even through Ibu's plastic protective suit, the fungus knows that she's there. As she flees from the room, the tendrils continue to reach upward out of the mouth. This scene reminded me a lot of the autopsy scene in The Silence of the Lambs, when they realized that the moth cocoon was embedded in the victim's throat. It's sickening, but it's also the key clue that Clarice later uses to identify Buffalo Bill, and here in this scene, foreshadowing the kiss of death that will take Tess.
Yeah, so nasty. So nasty.
30 hours prior at a flour and grain factory on the west side of Jakarta, and Ibu calls it the perfect substrate.
A day and a half.
Substrate meaning a surface or material on which an organism can live. This confirms my theory that the fungus is spread by flour in the food supply. Jakarta has the world's largest flour mill, and last episode, Sarah noted that they were out of pancake mix. The Adlers offer biscuits that Joel turned down.
Yep.
This Adler makes
is the wheat, the flour.
Hates. We get a close-up of the heat rising and those cookies growing, and later that night, Joel forgets to pick up cake. Now, this shot of Ibu is an extended multi-minute take, and I just love that we never cut away and we have to stay with her in this horror.
Her hand shakes a little bit.
Ibu attempts some contact tracing, learning that they don't know who bit the woman before the factory, and then learns.
Lalu pekerja yang lain bagaimana?
Is it 14?
14 orang hilang.
My hand starts shaking. I love that little detail. Like God, she's like, God
The
damn.
moment she hears
She's like, oh,
14,
we're
her hand rattles the
screwed.
tea. She never
Like,
takes
we're
a sip
screwed.
either, afraid to ingest anything. Like Dr. Newman in episode 1, Ibu says that there is no treatment possible, and instead just looks at this military officer to give him one solution that he'll understand.
Bomb the hell. Bombs over Baghdad.
Mulailah
Nuke
panghukuman.
the bastards.
Yeah, and I like how even in another language, the word is the same, bomb.
Oh.
And it's the same solution the Americans try on their own
Yep.
cities.
Is this where they bombed?
Yeah. They hit most of the big cities like this. They had to slow the spread somehow.
Yeah.
Worked here, but it didn't in most places.
So then we open on Ellie
Desperation.
sleeping in the fetal position, surrounded by green moss, just a pure natural state like a fetus in utero, the next stage of human evolution potentially resistant to the fungus. A butterfly flaps past her, recalling the butterflies on Sarah's pillowcase, as Ellie supplants Sarah as the daughter figure that Joel must protect.
Hey, I would never
Butterflies
got
are
that
symbols of
connection.
Transformation. From the caterpillar to the cocoon, metapod to Butterfree. And as the world
Butterfree.
goes through biological transformations around them, these characters must undergo psychological transformations in order to adapt and to survive. Change is inevitable. Now, this
Still,
used to be a
I guess
salon.
because she doesn't look
Look
like
at
Ellie,
all
I'm
that
still getting a hard time
This
feeling
would be a
Ellie.
place where you do get makeovers and
Oh,
transform
Supercuts.
your look. That's a magazine that you flip through for hairstyle inspiration that Tess tosses Ellie to use as
Oh, yeah, because
Twitter.
everything's
Now,
stuck
like
back
Professor
2003.
Joel's hand also
Supercuts
trembles,
still around?
blood from his savage beating of that soldier the night before. He is shaking because for the first time in decades, he feels something.
You need to stop talking about this kid like she's got some kind of life in front of her.
He's trying to stifle the affection he's feeling by likening Ellie with Sarah and how quickly Sarah's future was snuffed out. Now, Tess is really interesting to watch in this scene because notice how overnight she's become a true believer.
I really like her in Fringe.
It doesn't matter.
Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann revealed that they actually wrote and shot a whole backstory for Tess that they ultimately removed. Tess was a wife
man.
and a mother, and both her husband and her son got infected. She had to kill her husband, but she couldn't bring herself to kill her kid, so she just locked him in the basement. And presumably, he's now a clicker, according to Mazin. So Tess's newfound hope for Ellie, her hope for redemption, and
Should be- that
for
would've
all
been
the
a
shit
good
she's
flashback.
done, is grounded in what she did to her family.
gotta-
Post-apocalyptic Boston looks
It would be nice to get more of a backstory
vines
Tess.
growing out everywhere from the crumbling buildings and the corroding cars. Really smart VFX detail here. Joel's head blocks out a glare from a background building window, tricking our brains into thinking everything in the background is practical and affecting
nice.
us physically, when in reality that leaning skyscraper is totally VFX. Like in the game, the atmosphere is immersive, and the production
Yeah.
designers just did a really good job blending the foreground practical sets and the background VFX, so you don't really know where
I will
the
say
line
it.
is.
It has a good.
Police car
The
they
show has a good
Boston
feel
PD
to it.
Ford Expedition, the make, model, and paint job even that Suffolk County cops used in the year
Hold
2003.
on. Did he say
also
Ford
stepped past
Expedition?
the
Hold
stuffed
on.
giraffe,
That's
which
not a
could
Ford
be
Expedition.
the
Hold on.
background VFX, so you don't really know where the line is.
That's not a Ford
The police car
Expedition.
they passed is a Boston PD Ford Expedition, the make, model, and paint job even that Suffolk County cops used.
Not
in
an
the year
Expedition,
2003.
right?
They also stepped past a stuffed giraffe, which could be a
Expedition
giraffe
SUV.
that you run
Okay.
into and give a good boy pat in the game. Ellie tells Tess that she was bitten after sneaking into the boarded up mall in the QZ.
So it was just you in there alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ellie sniffs because there is more to that story, which I'll get to at the end in Spoiler Corner. Ellie also shares some myths that she's heard.
So there aren't super infected that explode fungus spores on you?
Yep.
Shit, I hope not.
Or ones with split open heads that see in the dark like bats?
The second kind refers to clickers. And yeah, definitely we're going to meet a few of them in this episode. I'll talk about the various stages of infected in Spoiler Corner, just in case you want to be surprised by what's coming. I love how this hotel has become an entirely new ecosystem, a swampy pond. A frog perches on the keys of the piano, creating a diegetic horror score. Later, Ellie adds to this music when she gets scared by the corpse. Every bottle and glass they pass in the hotel now has plant life growing out of it.
That's
as
pretty
water and
cool.
nutrients
The little
were collected
details.
inside and created a sort of petri dish ecosystem for life to form.
The
Joel
little
gives Tess
details.
a boost that she can crawl through the cave-in. Joel and Tess giving each other boosts and pulling each other up on ledges like this. It's just a common move that you do
yeah.
in this early section of the game. Joel and Ellie have this moment alone, and Ellie asks how long infected live.
I'm saying you get a feel of the game.
But there's others been walking around about 20 years.
Yeah, a bit of foreshadowing for some longtime infected hosts whose fungal layers just keep growing and growing. Again, I'll explain more of this in Spoiler Corner. The three of them look down and see rows of infected laying down below.
The last time we were here, they were still deep inside the buildings. Then I guess enough people came through looking for the QZ. We went inside seeking shelter. And that's how they get more and more of the city bit by bit, year after year.
Ah, so this tells us that the Boston QZ is not necessarily secure permanently, and explains
Yeah.
why Joel and Tess were ready to leave it even before meeting Ellie. Next, the infected all react to sunlight in a wave.
They're connected.
I didn't even notice that.
The fungus also grows underground. Long fibers like wires, some of them stretching over a mile. You step on a patch of cordyceps in one place, and you can wake a dozen infected from somewhere else.
Okay, so this whole
Crazy.
idea of cordyceps hive mind, like the neural chemical network,
Is actually a
Pandora
true
Avatar,
thing
is
in,
a new thing in the HBO series. It's not something really in the
Oh.
game, or at least not established.
But in real life,
You
it's
probably
true.
know by now if it was. But to be clear, when we're using a term like hive mind, we should separate the idea of mind from the idea of cognition. Behind the scenes at New Rockstars, our sales guy.
I believe in
Bert
that
is giving
documentary
me
I
a
watched that
moving
they
lecture
talked
on
about how the
subject.
fungus is
Both
all
the idea of a
connected
mind
up in like a
and the
forest
idea
and
of
in
cognition are
Oregon,
metaphysical
something like that.
concepts debated by scientists, especially when it comes to things like AI. So it's not that fungi are sentient the way humans are and are working collectively to outsmart us and hunt us, but they do collectively react to environmental stimuli and are capable as a colony of living for years and years and years and accomplishing some complex things. But at that point, you get to the debate of, well, are humans just reacting to environmental stimuli? Like, I don't know, I get hungry at sundown, sleepy at midnight, and every time my wife revs up the microwave, I piss my pants and forget who I am for a half hour or so. But this change to the show accomplishes two things. One, there's some thematic takeaway here that cordyceps is beating us by being more communicative and better connected than humanity is, like arguably the more worthy species of taking over planet Earth. But two, it gives the fungi a ranged threat that you could say they lose by the show omitting the spore component of them. This is just
Yeah.
a new way that the fungus can get us.
You're not immune from being ripped apart.
Now, in the museum, they passed displays of the Boston Tea Party and portraits of founding fathers, all covered in dried cordyceps, as if all of American history was rendered pointless by a fungal infection that swallowed our entire society. The infected
Yeah.
corpses they passed still bear some human features that are just eerily preserved, because as we saw
So
before,
creepy.
the muscle tissue beneath the skin gets replaced by the fungus, so that delays the decomposition that our bodily fluids would have caused. They end up trapped in a room with two clickers. Now, these are the blind infected individuals formed by the fungus.
I mean, they look
splitting
just
open
like-
their
I mean,
heads
the way they
like
move and
bats.
everything.
They use echolocations like clicks to perceive their surroundings.
Who were the actors that played them? Did a real good job with the movements.
Now, last week, my buddy Ryan Airy at Screen Crush pointed out the motif of ticking clocks in the episode 1 flashbacks, and you may have noticed when Sarah dies, Joel's watch breaks and freezes on the exact moment of her death. And now, in this moment, I loved hearing how the clockwork ticking of the old world has been replaced with sporadic random clicking of the clickers, because now time truly has no meaning. Ellie, though, is unable to silence her own gasp. Notice how this clicker, compared to other infected runners or stalkers, wears clothes that are more worn down. That's because to get like this, clickers must have been infected for over a year, longer than most other infected that we see. His wet and slimy head has had its skull split down to the top row of teeth in the palate,
Ugh.
but the fungus has otherwise left the mouth intact because it needs the mouth for oral transmission. When Joel shoots the chest, it's ineffective because the fungus doesn't feel pain and really doesn't need any of the vital organs that would have been in the chest region, only really the brain and the brainstem. Joel removes the bullets from his revolver. Just the little sound of the shells alerts that clicker. And I love how the camera stays on Joel as the clicker starts to move toward us, but frames it out so that, like Joel, we just have to guess where it is.
I mean, kind of saw that come with that jump scare, but
And they upped the volume on those clicks to signal to us that he is now just a few feet away around the corner. So Joel, having faced these things before, knows how to use the clicker's own echolocation methods to echolocate it. And notice how we don't see where Tess is for most of the sequence, or how she loses her clicker, just a little warning sign that something probably went down off screen with her. Now Tess says there's no going back home. And notice how their path through this museum caves in behind them, which is similar to the experience of playing the game. And many games, really, your path closes off behind you and there's only one path forward. It's just so sad to rewatch this episode from here forward for Anna Torv's performance, like when Joel wraps tape around her foot and she just looks at him with tears in her eyes.
yeah, because no, it's pointless.
So we'll deal with it then.
Tess gets a moment alone, and her hand does twitch a bit. Not sure if it's voluntary or not, but muscle spasms are a symptom. And notice how Tess yelps in pain when her arm on the side where the bite is grabs the ladder. Joel, after watching Ellie go down the ladder, very suddenly looks down at his watch, unable to look at Ellie without thinking of his daughter Sarah. Tess walks ahead of them toward the state house, more in a rush than they are, and to hide
There's
her
little
shoulder
details
bite.
that
That's how
you
when
don't
she turns
pick up,
around,
though.
You can see blood sprayed on her neck.
Ah.
Joel doesn't notice because he's too busy looking at Ellie's more recent scratch, worried that she's going to turn. So when they get to the state house, they find find everyone dead already, which is another contrast from the games. In the games, Tess has to hold all this down as Fedra soldiers come in.
Yeah.
And there's a big shootout. But like last episode, this
Thought it was
series
Fedra
shows the
soldiers.
heroes in the present day stumbling upon the aftermath of the human versus human shootouts instead of taking down person after person like you do sometimes in the game, except for specific moments from Joel. Here, Joel explains what happened.
One of them got bit. The healthy ones fought the sick ones. Everyone lost.
And Tess reveals her infected bite and compares it to Ellie's scratch that has no effect.
This is real. Josh is real.
Oh yeah, it's just
I need you to get her to Bill and Frank's.
And yes, Tess's hand tremor is more severe now. Tess says,
I never ask you for anything, not to feel the way I felt, not to shut the up because I don't have time.
it's just so tragic. In her final minutes, she doesn't even have time to profess her love for Joel because she knows that they missed their window. And she continues,
You get her there, you keep her alive, and you set everything right. All the shit we did.
yes, Tess sees the promise of Joel getting Ellie to safety and a possible cure to cordyceps
That's a good
as
scene.
her one hope for redemption. Joel shoots the
Oh, shit.
infected host, and the cordyceps in the soil latches onto his hands. We see the fungal colony at work. Similar tendrils snake under a fingernail, lifted a little. Ugh, I know. But the dinner bell has been rung. Actually, the stalker we see here up close is the same one that'll eventually plant the smooch on Tess.
Oh, it is?
Tess
Oh,
sets
wow.
up the place to blow up and has this final moment with Joel.
Say who you can say.
You can tell that Joel totally wants to give her a goodbye kiss right now, but at this
she's
point,
infected.
a kiss with an infected is a kiss of death. So
Yeah.
this is the closest they get, and all the infected arrive, and this stalker closes in for a kiss.
Yeah, so
Ugh.
nasty.
In addition to the
Yeah.
undeniable grossness of the tendril transmission, it's just an additional violation because a kiss is such an intimate gesture. Now, this actor's named Philip Berjou, and look how this guy looks. When you lose that fungal makeup, hello there. So this kiss just feels like an especially cruel perversion, reminding me of the overtly sexual design of the xenomorph anatomy and Alien.
Yeah.
This is another example of the showrunner's subversive theme of the series, the danger of love. This kiss is a loving gesture.
Yeah.
Even from the perspective of
Yeah.
cordyceps, it is a kind of loving embrace. It's one piece of the fungus recognizing and connecting with another piece of the fungus. Yet that love is destructive
keep playing
and
it?
violent. And let's
So
never
nasty.
forget that. But Tess is able to bring the suffering to an end by finally igniting the lighter, which she drops thanks to her hand's muscle spasms. And so the room explodes, bringing us back to Professor Ibu's only real solution to deal with the infected
Bombed them.
bomb. Okay, on to spoiler corner. For those of you who know
Spoilers!
what's coming in the games, or for those of you who don't really mind, I will give additional warnings for any big spoilers like character deaths or other big twists that the show has not indicated at all. And so for the spoiler corner, it's just gonna be some general knowledge that some may consider to be fun surprises for the coming episodes, which is why I put it here. Okay, so yeah, Ellie was not the only one in the mall. Riley was there
Yep.
with her, but like Joel not wanting to talk about Sarah, Ellie doesn't want to talk about her lost loved one. Notice how Ellie also indicated no boyfriend is gonna come looking for her. And then Ellie's mention of super infected that explode fungus spores
Yep.
on you that Tess and Joel thought was a myth, totally a nod to bloaters, one of which shows up in the trailer, so we know a bloater is coming. Bloaters are the several-year-old infected hosts with fungal layers that have formed like armor and tear chunks of that fungus off themselves to throw like spore bombs. Actually, early in the game, there is a Fedra handout showing the stages of infected, from runner to stalker to clicker to and then
Loaded.
the bloater stage is torn off. Now, there's also a stage infected later in the games called Shamblers that are found near water that spray spore clouds. But really, in general, this whole talk of a hive mind and some infected being 20 years old, the full length of the pandemic, maybe the show at least indicating to viewers or people who have played Part 2 that things are gonna eventually get to the
Yep.
Rat King from Part 2 of the games. The Rat King is a freakish 20-year-old beast in the Seattle area made up of multiple infected hosts fused together. He's one of the most frightening bosses of the game. While I definitely don't think the Rat King is going to come in Season 1, this has got to be something the
Oh,
show's
no.
going to get to in Season 2 or Season 3. Hey, a reminder to subscribe to our new channel.
Yeah, I wonder how far they're gonna go.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to
I wonder how far season 1 is going to take us. Is it going to be the whole game, or is it going to be like halfway through the game? It's like season 1 and 2 can be game 1, and then like seasons 2, well, 3 and 4 be part 2. Anyways, learn some more stuff that I missed and everything, especially little details. You know, that's stuff I like this channel for. Again, I'm enjoying the show. Can't wait for next week's episode. If you haven't seen my review of it, the link will be over here at the end. Let me know if you've been watching Last of Us, if you enjoyed it, if you love the games. Make sure to like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.